Okay, this is wild. The mask is off, the charade is finished, and the so-called prophecy has collapsed. The WNBA's desperate attempt to manufacture a next Caitlin Clark just blew up in front of a national audience. Paige Bueckers, the media's hand-picked darling, the supposed heir to Clark's throne, the one hyped as the savior of women's basketball, just got hit with a brutal reality check, hand-delivered by the Seattle Storm. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a stumble. This was an exposure session, a reminder that hype melts quickly when it collides with the cold truth of WNBA-level defense. For months, the narrative has been spoon-fed like it came straight from a PR playbook. Paige Bueckers was the chosen one, the inevitable torchbearer who would follow in Clark's footsteps and somehow surpass her. The media couldn't get enough of it, endlessly pushing the idea that Paige was rewriting the sport faster than Clark ever did. They pumped her up with endless headlines, painting her as the flawless package, poised, cerebral, efficient. The elevation of one Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, stab me in the eye with a spoon, for Christ's sakes. Wow. So, that's a thing right now. Last night, Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points. And we're going to look at a video that just dissects and exposes a lot of that shit. Let me tell you, exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment on the court. Remember when even Paige's old coach Gino Auriemma said this about Caitlin Clark? It set the tone of how everyone treated, or should I say, mistreated, and doubted Clark from the start. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's perenning, Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. Paige snagged the stat of being the fastest player to 200 points and 50 assists, edging Clark's pace by a single game. That little nugget had analysts foaming at the mouth, screaming about how polished she was, how ready she looked compared to Caitlin. The hype train was chugging full speed, with ESPN happily selling first-class tickets. But here's the thing about hype. It only survives until reality slaps it in the face. And reality wears Seattle Storm green. Fresh off her overblown crowning moment, that 44-point outburst against the Sparks, Paige strolled into Seattle like she was still at her coronation parade. The problem? The Storm weren't rolling out red carpets. They rolled out traps, contests, and physicality. What followed wasn't a coronation. It was a demolition. She went off in a game against the Los Angeles Sparks, scoring 44 points, but the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field, and I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually in. But with this game, like Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring, and I think with that, these are some big numbers. That Paige finished with just 11 points. Not 11 in the first half. Not 11 in the opening quarter. No, 11 for the entire game. On a horrific 2 for 11 shooting night with 0 assists, and a measly 2 rebounds. That box score read less like future superstar, and more like a sympathy line for a player who got lost on the court. Coach Noel Quinn of Seattle even called it before tip-off. Time to see if this princess can handle the Caitlin Clark treatment. Spoiler alert, she couldn't. She folded, and here's where it gets fascinating. Because while Paige was wilting under one night of real defensive pressure, Caitlin Clark has been living in that storm for over a year. She's the player who didn't just shake up the league, she redefined it. And what has she gotten in return? Treatment that would make NFL linebackers nod in approval. The receipts are brutal. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the 2024 WNBA season were committed against Caitlin Clark alone. That's not basketball. That's open season targeting. Look no further than the Chicago Sky, who made it a personal hobby to body Clark. They accounted for 80% of those flagrant fouls. Meanwhile, Paige was floating around getting coddled like she was still playing a light scrimmage in college. The first time she faced Clark-level intensity, She shriveled. Her shots vanished. Her efficiency evaporated, and her game looked hollow. Seattle's defense treated her like the star she was hyped to be, and exposed her as anything but. She got blitzed. She got doubled. And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed and doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers. Like, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. Paige Bueckers shot 7 times. The media, of course, had been parading her shooting percentages like gospel. Paige's smooth 47.4% clip was trumpeted endlessly, contrasted against Clark's rookie 41.7%. They sold it as undeniable proof that Paige was more polished. But here's what they conveniently skipped. Clark was taking the hardest shots in the league while absorbing hits that barely even drew whistles. Paige's pretty numbers came off soft defense and wide-open looks. When she was finally guarded like a star, those numbers collapsed instantly. 2 makes on 11 attempts. That's not efficiency. That's a mirage dissolving the second it's tested. Meanwhile, Clark continues to torch defenses designed to break her. She takes contested threes from 28 feet, drives through hacks, shrugs off elbows, and still delivers highlight reels that sell out arenas. Her resilience makes Paige's struggles look even more glaring. Clark has proven she can take punishment and still perform at a generational level. Paige got one taste of that pressure and vanished. Let's not sugarcoat what we saw. Paige Bueckers got a single game's worth of Caitlin Clark treatment, and she collapsed. The media's next Caitlin Clark crumbled into a next off-the-bench option. This is the same Paige the analysts swore was superior in every way, more poised, more fundamentally sound, more efficient. Yet when the spotlight got hot and the defense got physical, she looked lost. That's the difference between hype and history. And Caitlin Clark has been writing history since day one. Paige Bueckers. She's just another name on the long list of players who couldn't handle the weight of Clark's shadow. The numbers, the film, and the narrative all tell the same story. Paige Bueckers isn't the heir to Caitlin Clark. She's a product of the media hype machine that finally got unplugged. When the Seattle Storm exposed her, they didn't just hand her a bad game. They ripped the curtain back on an illusion the WNBA and ESPN have been desperate to sell since Clark's arrival changed everything. And once fans saw the truth, the hoax collapsed. Let's look at the raw stats because those are what the media has been leaning on to sell Paige as the next big thing. Caitlin Clark's rookie year, 19 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds a night, all while being hacked, bumped, and fouled harder than anyone else in the league. Paige Bueckers' rookie averages 19.7 points, 5.3 assists, and 4.1 rebounds. On paper, she edges Clark slightly in scoring, and that's exactly what the hype merchants at ESPN screamed about. She's already outpacing Caitlin. But the numbers are nothing without context. Clark's buckets came while she was the primary target of every defensive scheme in the league. She absorbed flagrant fouls at twice the rate of any other player. Teams literally told defenders to get physical with her as a game plan, and she still delivered. Bueckers. She floated through games with kid glove treatment. Defenders gave her space, rotated late, and let her build up efficiency numbers that look great on paper, but crumble the second anyone actually closes out. In a 17 on the floor. She had 0 assists and 11 points. 0 assists. 0. 0 assists. I don't like it. That's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not even going to say, oh yeah, you know, the points are everything. Points aren't everything at the end of the day. Assists aren't everything. Like, all of these individual stats aren't everything. It was just the fact that she literally, how many blitzes did the Indiana, or how many open shots did the Indiana Fever get off a Caitlin Clark blitz? When Seattle decided to flip the script and guard her like Clark, it was like watching a glass figurine tossed into a construction zone. 2 made field goals on 11 attempts, 0 assists, and just 2 rebounds. That's not efficiency, that's exposure. And here's what's worse for Paige. The Storm didn't just beat her, they built a blueprint every other team will copy. Brittany Sykes bodied her on the perimeter. Skylar Diggins-Smith rotated over to cut off driving lanes. and Gabby Williams plus Erica Wheeler took turns contesting every single shot. That's what Clark has seen since her first game in the league. That's what Paige got for one night, and she folded. Coach Noelle Quinn explained it perfectly. It wasn't just about one defender. It took layers. Multiple defenders keyed in on her every action, and once she faced that treatment, the stat padding vanished. 2 buckets out of 11 attempts. All the so-called fundamental polish went out the window the second she was treated like Caitlin Clark. When you got a player like Paige, it's not just relying on, your guards, whoever has a main matchup, but it becomes a team picture. Understanding, rotations, on the ball, off the ball. And I think the other thing that we did, early on, we rebounded decently out of it. We didn't give up too many. I think it was 12-second chance points at the half, but not a lot of, deflating possessions after having a lot of deflections and things like that. Now, of course, Paige's defenders rushed in with excuses. She's still recovering from her ACL tear. She's shaking off rust. She's just getting her rhythm. Nice try, especially since that happened many years ago. Clark never got that luxury. She entered the WNBA as public enemy number 1, the player everyone wanted to test, foul, and physically intimidate. No soft entries, no easy games, no grace period. Just fire, and she thrived in it. Paige. She was handed a velvet runway, and the second someone pulled it away, she tripped over her own hype. That's not superstar DNA, that's media fabrication collapsing. The Dallas Wings drafted Paige number 1 overall, gave her every opportunity, and still wound up at 928, dead in the water. They didn't even sniff the playoffs. So much for the savior of the league. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark took the Indiana Fever from basement dwellers to playoff contenders in 1 year. She didn't just carry her own team, she carried the entire league. Attendance records, that's Clark. National TV deals, Clark. Merchandise sales exploding, Clark again. Paige couldn't even stop her team from sliding into irrelevance in her first season. And this is the next Caitlin Clark. Please. One is a generational talent who literally transformed women's basketball. The other is a nice player who got gifted headlines she didn't earn. And this is the part fans are fed up with. The media spent months insisting Bueckers was superior to Clark. They highlighted her higher shooting percentages without mentioning that Clark takes 30-foot threes while Paige coasts on open mid-range jumpers. They ranked her above Clark in mid-season lists as if 6 weeks of basketball erased everything Clark has done for the sport. It was a manufactured rivalry built on sand. And when Seattle turned up the physicality, the whole structure collapsed. Fans saw it. Social media saw it. The Emperor had no clothes, and the Paige Bueckers, Caitlin 2.0 narrative dissolved overnight. Did you just say Paige Bueckers will save the WNBA season? This season? The same Paige Bueckers that's dating Elmer Fudd. The same Paige that plays in front of empty civic centers for the Dallas Wankers. You expect me to believe she is gonna save the WNBA season? She can't even sell out home games. Matter of fact, she doesn't come anywhere close to selling out games. The Wankers rank near the bottom of the league in attendance. Here's the bigger problem. The league keeps trying to force-feed rivalries that don't exist. They think they can copy-paste Clark's impact by propping up anyone with a stat line and a decent jump shot. But here's the truth. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She's Tiger Woods. She's Serena Williams. She's LeBron James. She transcends the game. You don't manufacture that. It happens once in a generation, maybe once in a lifetime. Paige Bueckers is not that. She never was. And pretending otherwise not only insults Clark but insults the fans who know better. You can't fake greatness. You either have it or you don't. And Caitlin Clark has it in spades. The Storm didn't just beat Paige. They pulled back the curtain. They showed the WNBA and ESPN that no amount of glossy highlight reels or efficiency stats can cover for a player who isn't ready to be the face of the sport. Meanwhile, Clark continues to prove night after night that she's the real deal. She's putting up numbers under relentless physical pressure, setting records in hostile environments, and carrying a franchise and a league on her shoulders. That's not hype, that's reality. August 22, 2025 should go down in WNBA history. Not as Paige Bueckers' coronation, but as the night the manufactured hype ended. The night the media's false narrative imploded. The night fans got to see in real time that there is no next Caitlin Clark. There's Caitlin Clark, and then there's everybody else. And Paige Bueckers, she just learned the hard way what happens when reality meets fiction. Here's the takeaway. Caitlin Clark remains the gold standard. She's the player who isn't just elevating herself, but elevating the entire sport. Paige Bueckers is a nice talent, but she's not Clark. And after Seattle exposed her, she might not even be in the same conversation. The WNBA and ESPN need to stop manufacturing hoaxes and start appreciating the generational talent they actually have, because fans aren't buying the hype anymore. They're buying into Clark. What do you think? Did Seattle officially end the Paige Bueckers experiment? Is this proof that the media's obsession with creating a next Caitlin Clark is doomed from the start?